Hello. Anyone there? Check, check, one. Check, check, one. Oh, yeah, I have to mention that. Damn. Hello. Hey, Max. Can you hear? How is it? Gotta bring. Hopefully, Sam Bone is gonna be on. Yeah, all right. Audio, video, pretty good. Uh, yeah, one of the things I just realized is um, if your computing infrastructure is just ARM, it's completely ARM and non-Intel, it causes some problems, especially when you have like if you need like demonstration and stuff, because so much of the world is still on Intel. So many tools are on Intel, and so even things like traditional Windows, and there's a lot of stuff that actually that doesn't work anymore, especially if you just depend on just Raspberry Pis or the latest Macs. Um, so yeah. Okay. Hey, Max. I think we're good. Dot file. This terminal is just Kali Linux. Or you mean my Mac OS one is just I'm just using Monaco Homebrew traditional. The only thing I did on Kali was just increase the font. That was it. That was the only thing I did. Manage add-ons. I think this is good. This is good. Okay, I'm gonna shut down the damn server. Yeah. All right. Vulnerabilities. Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's now 4:30 on a Thursday. Um. Yes. Welcome to another episode of Introduction to Security at Tufts University. I'm Ming Chow, Associate Teaching Professor. Today, I don't think I'm going to take a long time. Um, Today, the topic is going to be vulnerability scanning. Maybe, and also some exploitation. And also this thing known as the Badness-O-Meter. We're going to talk about vulnerability scanning and vulnerabilities and vulnerability scanning today. So, a vulnerability is just a security weakness. Now, loosely, in most lay definition, a vulnerability is a security weakness that an attacker, good or bad, can take advantage of and can compromise the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of a system, data, list goes on, list goes on, list goes on. So, one of the questions that I get all the time, um, everything's broken out there. There's a lot of stuff that's broken, but and but at the same time, we're also using a lot of stuff. You take a look at your home network. You have video game consoles, computers, laptop, phones, routers, even devices and gadgets like TVs. Your toaster now counts. Light bulbs, got one of those finally. And the big question that people always ask is, okay, so I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of gadgets on the network now. But we all know that a lot of stuff is broken. The question is there a way to scan everything for vulnerabilities, for potential vulnerabilities? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. There are what I call vulnerability scanners available. There are plethora and plethoras of vulnerability scanners, tools that can scan either your entire network, your device, or individual devices, even applications, whether it's on the web or whether they're on your desktop, for vulnerabilities. Yeah, there are many tools, so many of them out there, commercial and open source. Um, and how you use them generally isn't it's pretty straightforward for the most part for a lot of vulnerability, like at the very basic level. A lot of vulnerability scanners are just plug in an IP address or an IP address range, and it will just scan the devices for vulnerabilities. So let's talk about some of the most popular vulnerability scanners available right now on the market. And probably the most famous vulnerability scanner uh, that is known to security professionals and industry is called Nessus by Tenable. Tenable Security. I want to give a lot of friends over there. I want to give a shout out to the people at Tenable. And Tenable, been around for a long time. Um, research data you need to uncover weaknesses across your entire attack surface. Tenable is famous for a product called Nessus. So what Nessus is, uh, it can scan many devices and IPs. Now, back in the days when I was learning cybersecurity, Nessus was free and open source. Then in the mid 2000s, they said, okay, we're going to go commercial. We're going to go closed source. I'll get to that in a few moments. So, Nessus. There is the subscription version. There is also what was formerly known as the home version, but is now known as Nessus Essentials. This is extremely valuable if you're like for things like your home network or if you are learning cybersecurity. You have 16 IPs is the maximum that you can use, and what we'll do, you have options once you use Nessus. You can scan like an app, or you can scan your entire network at home, up to 16 IP addresses. And it will just show you all the different vulnerabilities based on CVEs. So, especially for you, if you're a cybersecurity learner, it is highly recommended that a really good start is Tenable for Education. Vulnerability assessment. So here it is. This is really recent too that they put this page together, maybe like a year ago. You can get started on this. It's a nice getting started video. I'll let you watch it. Installations. I think is now the front end is all web-based. The front end is web-based now, and it's just like, okay, plug in create a profile, plug in a bunch of IP address, plug in or an IP address. It will give and choose, okay, whether you want to scan this for basic vulnerabilities or for web app stuff. Okay, so Nessus is for education is free, great learning tool. I no longer have it. Because Tenable only work with only work for Intel-based processors. I'm on ARM now for everything. So I can't show you a demo of using Nessus. I did this before in the past, which was cool. Okay, so I did mention, um, if you are, you know, concerned that this is a commercial product, and you want something like free and open source, okay. The other option is to use OpenBus. OpenBAS. You can install this on Kali Linux. You can install this on Kali Linux. Now, OpenVAS is the open vulnerability assessment scanner. Yeah, Docker on the Mac is interesting though. I have to try it. Yeah, I still got Docker reinstalled recently. So what OpenVAS is, it's very much like Nessus. It's free and open source. In fact, the history of OpenVAS is very much tied into Nessus. If I'm not mistaken, OpenVAS is based on Nessus. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. Greenbone Vulnerability Manager began in the name OpenVAS, and before that the name Gnesis, which was a fork of the proprietary previous. Here it is. It's a fork of the previously open source Nessus scanning tool, and then of course Tenable took it closed source. So if you're looking for the quote unquote open source version, free and open source version of Nessus, you can use OpenBus. And you can install this on Kali Linux. You can install this on Kali Linux. There it is. That's a brief history. Here's this. Free of charge. They have the source code. Do they have product documentation? I couldn't get this to work on my Kali machine, on Kali. Okay. So Nessus and OpenVAS are two really general vulnerability scanning, and they also manage vulnerabilities as well too, for you. Okay. Well, actually, here it is. Second choice. What? Why is the page not found? That's weird. That's weird. Anyway, okay. So Nessus and OpenVAS, they're two pretty big vulnerability scanners. Actually, setup time takes a bit. Trying to set them up actually takes some time. On the initial startup, they have to download a whole bunch of dictionaries, a whole bunch of rules, including like old CVEs. So you're going to need some disk space, at least a couple gigabytes of a hard disk space, because OpenVAS and Nessus require like a huge, lots of data, lots of previously known vulnerabilities in order for it to work. Okay, so all right, we don't have Nessus. We don't have OpenVAS. Okay, you can try those on your own. But what we can show is a couple of more. I got 1, 2, 3 more vulnerability scanners. Actually, I'm sorry. We got 5 open source. We got 5 different vulnerability scanners as well too that we can use. So actually, one of them you already know. One of them we already used in this course. Yes, you can actually use Nessus as a lightweight vulnerability scanner. Yes, you can. Yep, you can use Nmap. I'm sorry, Nmap. You can use Nmap as a lightweight vulnerability scanner. Got that just sent the documentation. Yeah, you can. Yes, Nmap is a well-known port scanner, but you can incorporate scripts. You can actually use scripts for Nmap. And most of the scripts are usually like created by third parties. And what it will do is you can see, okay, so Nmap of course found the open port, but it also delved deeper into, all right, and notice that this server is using Apache HTTPD 2.4.17, and it will just list all the vulnerabilities in CVEs associated with that web server. Yes. So yes, you can use Nmap as a to scan and detect vulnerabilities on something on a device or something on the network. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Okay, so Nmap is an option for a vulnerability scanner. One of my next week we will get into web security. So next week we will do uh, hands-on web security. We'll break web apps. We will learn cross-site scripting, SQL injection, directory traversal. List goes on. That's a lot of vulnerabilities. But I mean, web is just loaded with vulnerabilities. So as you can imagine, there are a number of vulnerability scanning tools for websites, web applications, and web servers. One of the most famous web application security tools, which acts as a proxy, we'll get to that next week, is also a scanner as well. And I want to show you, and I want to introduce to you a preview of the next couple of weeks. It's called Burp Suite. Yeah, Burp Suite by the good folks at Portswigger. Burp. If you're gonna want to do, if you want to do web security, you gotta know, if you have any desire or any aspiration to do web or web application security, Burp is your friend. Or OAuth Zap, although there is a slight edge to Burp because it is just so well known and used for all these years. Now remember what these vulnerability scanners are. Um, they're automated. So what Burp Suite is, there is a couple of versions. There's an enterprise version, also a subscription model, professional version, which is a subscription model, but there is also a um, community edition. Okay. Next week, we're going to use Burp as a proxy. The professional version of Burp Suite also contains what is a web vulnerability scanner, automated scanner. Okay, I have the community edition of Burp. We'll use that next week for starting next week for web application security. But I can actually show you a preview of how Burp actually looks like. There you go. I'm gonna hit next. This is a community edition, but it won't have the scan. It won't have the vulnerability scanner. Hold on, that guy. Hold on. I'm gonna get to that. So, um, at the professional version, we'll have a way to manage activities and issues on apps and stuff. Okay, there should be a scanner here. Oh, there's a new scan option, but I can't use that because I don't have the pro version. Okay, all right. We're going to use Burp next week as a web for test web applications and as a proxy. But you may be wondering, okay, well this sucks. I have to pay for the professional version in order to get a scanner. Is there open free and open source version? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. The Open Web Application Security Project, OWASP, which we'll talk more about next week. Okay, OWASP is a nonprofit, and their goal is to improve the security of software. Come on. Come on. Right down. Hello. Wow. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know why that was not. OWASP, Open Web Application Security Project. It's a nonprofit that includes, here it is. Uh, they're local chapters of the OWASP all over the country. Tons and tons of open chapters. Boston had one back in the days. I mean, it was Wednesday. OWASP Boston. Yeah. Have they had a meeting recently? I guess they did. April 2021, they did. Uh, they had a meetup. That was their last meetup. But OWASP is famous for two projects. One is their top 10 list for top 10 web application security issues. And number two is the WebGoat project, which is a deliberately vulnerable web application. OWASP also has a free and open source product called ZAP, the Z attack proxy. So it is very, very, very much like Burp. Very, very, very much like Burp. They also contain the scan. They also have an automated scanner, which is really cool. So it's free and it's open source. Okay, so I can load one up. This is also one of the top 10 tools. I believe this is one of the tools I would put into one of the core tools that I put into Kali. Here it is. Oh, watch that. Functionality is very, very similar to Burp. Very, very similar to Burp. There we go. So, welcome to Zap. Zap. Zap is an easy-to-use integrated penetration testing for finding vulnerabilities in web application. If you're new to Zap, then it's best to start with one of the options below. Automated scan, manual explore, or learn more. Okay, so I'm going to give people a preview for one of the labs that I have in my security class. So here is a URL at 34.125.213.242. So one of the things that we're going to learn next week is how to break into websites like these. And the technique that we're going to use is the oldest trick in the book called SQL injection. So here's an actual IP address that I've set up for my security class at 34.125.213.242. Okay. Is there a way that we can scan this website for vulnerabilities? And the answer is, let's try an automated scan. Hit the automated scan, punch in the IP address. And all you have to do is just hit attack. And that's that. And it's just going to do an automated scan of the entire application. It's running. And you may be wondering, okay, where are the results? Are there any vulnerabilities with this website or the server? And the answer is, well, let's take a look. Go to the alerts. Yeah, there we go. And you can see, window, here we go. Go to the alerts. You can see 1, 2, 3 potential vulnerabilities. So far, nothing heavy. So far, nothing high. 34.125, then here it is. Here's a CWE ID. That the vulnerability is X-frame option header not set. Okay. There's another vulnerability, a yellow flag, the absence of it is a vulnerability, cross-site request forgery tokens, CWE ID 352. Okay. I even give a description of what the vulnerability is. All right. Content. Here it is, CWE 693. What's that noise? Why is that knocking all of a sudden? Description of the vulnerability. So we're scanning for stuff right now. It's scanning for stuff. All right. if there's something really serious, it'll be just say a red flag. Yep. There'll be something serious, it'll be a high priority alert. So far, we only got like low, or we got one medium, one low. So that's one way. Okay, OWASP Zap has a vulnerability scanner built in. Burp has a vulnerability scanner built in. Um, yeah, you got to pay for it. Again, but here's the key thing. Both Burp and OWASP will only work on websites or web applications. If you're gonna try to find stuff like weak password, like hardware specific vulnerabilities and stuff, OWASP, Zap, Burp, they're not gonna find. They're not there for those. Wait, would this be able to scan for injection attack? Yes. Yes. The question is, wait, would this be able to scan for the injection attack? Possibly. Possibly. Very much so. Very possible. Okay? So, very possibly it could detect things like SQL injection. Burp has that. Okay? I'm gonna quit this. I mean, yeah, I'll just exit and discard all the resources. So yeah, scan for SQL injection. Can that does it? Yep. Mm-hmm. You have to. Okay, this is important. Any fuzzing activity requires manual review and confirmation by the user. Okay, I need to get to that in a little bit later. Yeah, you can use offset scan for your web application. Did I have a login? Yep, scan for vulnerabilities. What I just did. This is exactly what I just did. Heh, funny. I didn't have it up there. It is. It was exactly what I did. Cool. All right, but we're not done. I want to get to that question on by that guy. What's this thing called? Nicto. Nicto. Okay. Now I'm going to log into the virtual machine here. Nicto scan web server for known vulnerabilities. Now, unlike Burp and OWASP Zap, Nicto will scan the entire server for known vulnerabilities. I mean, we're talking about things like server and software misconfiguration, default files and programs, outdated servers, insecure files and programs. Okay. Nicto was built by Rainforest Puppy. Was it built by No, it wasn't Rain. Was it Rainforest Puppy who did that? Nicto, the vulnerability scanner. No, Chris Sullo. It was built by Chris Sullo. I forgot what I always forget what Rainforest Puppy did. Chris Sullo built Nicto. So Nicto is a vulnerability scanner that scans for outdated software and all that other fun stuff. And there are many options. Evasion, format. So if you want to find vulnerabilities on the entire web server, not only including like pages in the app, just do nicto minus host equals, and then you just plug in an IP address that contains like a working website. And you can let it run. And this was the IP address that we were just using moments ago. No CGI directories found. Alright, the server may actually look a little bit locked down. Alright, is there another IP address that we can use? Yeah, sure, let me try my home network. Server on my home network is 192.168.1.10. Once you do this, you can see like a whole list of stuff, like boom. Let's stop here. And so you can see, okay, a whole bunch of interesting directory possible files and all that possible files. Ooh, here it is. This is an interesting one. This one bad. Directory indexing found. Ooh, that's not good. It uses open source vulnerability database, which is sadly has been decommissioned. But think of it, it was supposed to be, it was a project. Want to give a shout out to Attrition, Liger. They maintained this project for many, many years. No longer in existence, but the project was hopefully an improved version of CVE. Okay, so find vulnerabilities like directory indexing. Okay, the entire server. Yeah, so Nikto can find a lot of a lot of issues on web servers. One common one, if it's like if this is like a WordPress blog, you'll find like all the files and folders. If there's any like outdated WordPress files. Yep. So now you know that guy, what Nikto is. It's a web app scanner. It's a web server scanner. Hey, scan a web server for known vulnerabilities. This is also not only just the app, but the entire server, the entire box. Okay, really nice and quick. It's a really old and quick tool to use. It still works for the most part. Okay, so all right. So we've mentioned Nessus, OpenVAS, Nmap, Burp, OAuth Zap, and you've finally seen Nikto. Those are all examples of automated vulnerability scanners. They'll find potential problems. Okay? They'll find potential problems. Okay, so there's an important point that I need to make. The important point that I need to make is, okay, finding vulnerabilities is important. Scanning software, infrastructure, hardware, you name it, for known vulnerabilities is important. I think we can all agree on that. All right, it's important to do scanning of stuff for vulnerabilities. But do not, and this is a common mistake that even the most biggest industry professionals make, do not think that once you scan something for vulnerabilities, and that's the end all be all. Okay, so the problem is, and I've seen this, and it's very sad in the cybersecurity industry. I've seen people and companies. All they do is a Nessus scan of your app and your infrastructure, and you get a report. You got to pay usually like $100,000 for such a report, and that's it. They basically just removed the Nessus logo, and they put on the consulting logo on there, and that's $100,000. The problem is a couple of fold. A lot of vulnerability scanners out there can't prove that this is actually a vulnerability. Okay, it may say, okay, you're using X, Y, and Z. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. But a lot of vulnerability scanning software do not prove the vulnerability. If it say that we can break into your server, okay, or you're running an outdated Windows version, an outdated version of Windows, it does not actually approve to say we actually can break into the server. That's the exploitation part that is missing. Okay, so number one, that's to break into a system to prove a vulnerability. That's known as a penetration test. A penetration test is to actually prove the existence of a vulnerability by breaking in and to show that, okay, I got all the data, or I actually got root access. Okay, most, if not most, vulnerability scanners will not do that. You have to, as a human, have to go and verify the vulnerability yourself by way of usually by way of manual exploitation. Okay? And I see way too often that people in cybersecurity mistake a vulnerability scan as a pen test. That's absolutely not true. So that is a huge problem, number one, is do not mistake a vulnerability scan for a pen test. A pen test is much deeper. It actually goes and break into the system to prove the existence of a vulnerability. Okay? But number two is when you run a vulnerability scan and it finds all kinds of problems. And then you go and actually fix all the problem. Doesn't mean that the game is over, then you're quote unquote hands off, you're safe. Okay? Well, okay, can you have a secure website with vulnerability? Yeah. Also, that brings up an important point. Some vulnerabilities are on much lower priority than others. Okay? It is extremely hard to fix every single vulnerability. Okay? Now, even if you have a secure website, it's probably still have a bunch of vulnerabilities that the public does not even know of already. Aha, so that's the point. Okay, if you run a vulnerability scan on a software, website, or whatever, and it finds serious, like critical vulnerability, you got a really big problem. We can all agree on that. But if a vulnerability scanner would come back and say, you're scotch free, okay, there's no vulnerabilities, doesn't mean you're safe and secure. And my friend Gary McGraw actually wrote, many years ago. Gary McGraw is a friend, teacher, and my mentor, who's the one who got me into cybersecurity. So Gary McGraw came up with something called a Badness-O-Meter. The Badness-O-Meter in cybersecurity. Oh, where are you? There's a good article on this. Oh, I have it. Oh, one of my favorite links. There you go. The Badness-O-Meter. Yep. The Badness-O-Meter. This is old 10 years ago now. And the Badness-O-Meter is this. Behind the Badness-O-Meters are vulnerability scanners. Okay, are useful. Many automated security tools like black box style tools, you've seen them all today. I mean, you've seen a bunch of them today. Nessus, OpenVAS, Burp, OAuth, Zap, Nikto, and Nmap with script provide limited security assurance by running tests against a system dynamically. The reason goes, if a set of can test finds security vulnerabilities in their system, then you need to take another crack at software security. Fine, we can all agree on that. Such testing tools are cheap and are worthwhile using. Don't get me wrong, so these security tools are great, especially to find the more critical stuff, because you don't want to expose critical vulnerabilities in a system, like a weak password. However, in your rush to use this automation, don't forget that tools of these types are badness-ometers and not security-ometers. Using this is straightforward. If a can test finds problem in your software or infrastructure, you know that your software is in a world of hurt. However, none of the can tests break your software. That doesn't mean that your software is secure, meaning that only a small number of tests have been run and nothing of interest have been found. So, of course, if I find something, you're in deep trouble. There you go. If it finds a big problem like a weak password or some injection attack, you're in deep trouble. But if it comes back scotch-free, the result is who really knows how secure you are. What about 0 days? Because there are plenty of vulnerabilities out there that have never been discovered or made publicly available yet. Okay? So keep that in mind. Okay? Keep that in mind. That while vulnerability scanning tools are important, they don't tell you the whole story. That is, if they say, you passed all tests, we can't break your software, we can't break your system, doesn't mean that you're safe and secure. Yeah, keep that in mind. So really it ties in very well. Yeah, you can have a secure website with vulnerabilities. I mean, we have these all the time. I mean, even though that we actually do our patching, we do our updates. I mean, there could be an update that comes out in like 2 weeks that actually address something that no one knew about. Okay. All right. So I got that important points out of the way. Number one, the badness-o-meter, and number two, vulnerability scanning does not actually prove that something got broken into or your system got broken into. Okay. So wait a minute. What about breaking into a system? Is there a tool that actually can do both? Is there a tool or a suite of tools that actually can do vulnerability scanning, pen testing, even things like scanning? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. And this is a good time to introduce to you all to one of the most famous tools in cybersecurity, and quite a lot of people use, called Metasploit. Metasploit. This is a suite. Oop. Hey, it's a penetration, it's what is called a penetration testing framework. Okay, Metasploit is a suite of tools. I mean, Metasploit will have you that can do vulnerability scanning, also can do exploitation as well too. Yeah. So there are two versions of Metasploit. There's a professional version and there's a free and open source one, which is the one I use. Metasploit is one of the core tools put into Kali Linux. Okay. Here it is. This is okay. But the one that I use is, here's the open source version of Metasploit. Okay. So really the heart of Metasploit is something called MSF console. Okay. So I'm using the free and open source version of Metasploit. Okay, here we are on my Mac. And it is based, Metasploit was written in Ruby. And so to get started with Metasploit at the most fundamental level is MSF console. Oh. And this will bring up the Metasploit console. I like to use the command line. I have much more control over it. Okay. So Metasploit have, the latest one currently has 2,172 exploits, 1,149 auxiliary helper tools, that like scanning tools, 398 posts, 592 payloads, the list goes on. First thing is, use this, the tip that says, use the resource command to run the command from file. You can do a help. Help. Okay, you can see history, connect, okay, save, module command. You can here's a fun one, a search. Okay, job command, credentials, database backend. All right. So okay, I'm gonna search. You want to search for everything Windows related? Yeah. Search Windows. There you go. Lots and lots of stuff for Windows. Payloads, exploits. Yes, these are the exploits are the tool that you can break into a system. Yeah. Okay. So does it have scanning tools? Yeah, absolutely. So one of the one of the my favorite vulnerabilities of all time is MS-1710. MS-1710 from 2017 is a critical um, vulnerability affecting Windows systems, SMB server. Why is this important? Why is this my favorite? Because it's led to WannaCry, the global outbreak of a ransomware attack. Also, this vulnerability was actually found by the National Security Agency, but they hoarded the vulnerability and never made it public for years, and they used it for themselves. Then one day, the shadow brokers, the hackers, the group broke into the NSA and just stole all their tool techniques and just dumped it to the public to have. And here we are. They have that. So, let's say that we have a vulnerability called MS-1710 here. There a way that we can, does Metasploit have a module for MS-1710? And the answer is, let's do a search, MS-1710. Okay? There's no result from the search. But what about MS-17 underscore 10? Okay? Let's do that. What about search for MS-17? There we go. Oh, it's MS-17 underscore 010. Interesting. So you can even do partial searches. So here we go. We have exploit code for MS-1710. We have auxiliary scanning tool for MS-1710. Pretty cool. So how do we use this? All right. So I'll show you how you use it. Here we are, we have an auxiliary scanner for SMB underscore MS-17 underscore 10. Let's use this one because this is used for SMB underscore RCE detection. I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to use this module. These are all modules here. So to use a module, you would use auxiliary slash scanner slash SMB slash SMB underscore MS-17 underscore 010. Cool. Not bad. All right. So now what do we do? Now what do we do is, all right, can we run this? Not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. You don't want to run this. You don't want to run this. So what you want to use this module for is to check if a server, or namely a Windows machine, any Windows machine, if you have the IP address, if it has this vulnerability. So we're going to actually say show options. What show options will do, it will actually tell you what fields you need to fill out before you actually go and run the scanner. Okay? So the required fields are our port, threads, okay, our remote port, threads, that's all filled out for us. But the one that's not filled out is our host. You can just punch in an IP address there. So what you need to do now is, okay, there's one required field that we don't have, which is our host. We need to set it. So you do set our host, and you just punch in, say, set space our host space 34.125. This is not 213.242. 34.125.213.242. I'm going to hit enter. There we go. Show options again. Show options again, and now you can see our host is complete. It's filled out. All right, so we have all the required fields. Nice. What we do next is we do run. Boom. Connection timeout. Scan. All right. If it's a timeout, probably not going to actually run. It's not going to work. Well, the machine that the server doesn't have 445 port 445 open, so it's not going to work. You try this on a target that is running Windows, may work. May very well work. Now, what happens if it actually shows up? Ooh, potential vulnerability found. Then you hit the back, but you do a search again, search for MS-17. If you actually want to break into the Windows uh, box, because it has a potential MS7, because you found out that it had a potential MS-17 10 MS-17 vulnerability, you can use the exploit. An exploit, Windows, same idea. Okay, so you use show options. Okay, plug in your R host and your R port, your R host only, and then you just fill in your information, hit run. And that will actually do the exploiting for you. This module will actually do the exploiting for you. We'll break into the Windows system. We've done that in the past. I don't have a Windows machine these days that I can use. Okay? But, alright, this is no fun. Is there something that, well, look, here we are in Metasploit. I want to learn more. Okay? I actually want to see something actually working. This sucks. Alright? I want to actually see something working. I want to see something working. Well, I want to see if we can use Metasploit to break into a system. Alright. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to introduce you to my friend Sambone. Yeah. Twitter.com, Sambone. Sam and I go back a long time. A friend I admire, someone I admire very much in cybersecurity. He teaches security and hacking in the city, San Francisco. You can follow him on Sambone. But he actually, you can follow him on Twitter on Sambone. He's there all the time. Sam teaches courses all over the place, and especially at DEF CON, Black Hat. He's done it all. He's done it all. Hey, Sam, boy, if you're actually listening to this, I don't know why in the world I can't even get to your website from my house. Ever. I don't know why. I just want to give you a call. I want to call you out on that. So samsclass.info is his website. Well, if I can't actually go and see his website on my own home internet, maybe I can access it on Tor. Ooh, interesting. Well, if you go on Tor, you want a proxy, you can actually. This website has, let me tell you, Sam create world class, and I mean world class tutorials. Okay? So, one of the things Sam is just a great cybersecurity teacher. Really, really good cybersecurity teacher. Some of the best labs he has. And one of the labs that he have, the one that I shared with you, is how to exploit PHP vulnerabilities using Metasploit. Okay, he said, okay, a Linux virtual machine, Windows target, let's not worry about those. But one of the things that he have is something called, here it is, create a PHP attack file. Here we go. So one of the things that you can do with Metasploit is you can create rigged or laced software. Yeah. One of the things that you can do with Metasploit, I've showed you MSF console, but it's also MSF Venom. What MSF Venom is, okay? MSF Venom is a combination of MSF payload and encode, putting these, okay, so what MSF Venom is, it will create payloads. Like including, I'll give you an example. You can create all kind of different payloads for different platforms. Okay, So what in the world is a payload? I'll give you a very example. Okay, a very good example is if you want to create a laced or a rigged or a malicious Android app, something like that. Yeah, you can use MSF Venom to create. Yeah, here it is. I create an Android from MSF Venom. So yes, you can create a rigged or malicious Android app using MSF Venom. What I want to do, what I want to do, what we want to do is we want to create a web page, a laced web page that comes back and talk to the attacker. Yeah. So he said, let's execute this command, and you can grep all the PHP attack files. I can quit out of here. We're going to come back to Metasploit. And so what MSF Venom will do, this option, MSF-LP, grep, it will show you all the different PHP payloads that you can actually use. But we just want to create something. We want to create a payload that, or a web, in this case, a web page that when people click on it, okay, it actually will actually talk to the attacker. And then the attacker completely owned the system. Yep. Okay. So here it is. There's a whole bunch of options that you have to create. But he did say this. On your Kali machine, execute these command replacing the IP address of with the machine of your Kali machine. We're not going to use a Kali machine in this example. We're actually going to use my actual Mac. So if I do an if config, what is my IP address here? 192.168.1.219. So I'm going to create a file called hackme.php. Follow this, but I'm going to replace, instead of 192.168.119.131, I'm going to do 192.168.1.219. L port 443. Fine. I'm going to hit enter. And this is a lace PHP page that anyone will connect to this will actually talk to the attacker. The attacker will actually be my Mac. Alright, no platform was selected, yada yada yada. If you want to take a look at the attacker, the lace PHP page is, sure, more hackme.php. There you go. Nice and awful. A lot of it's like all minified. Alright. Now, we need to connect this to some server. It's a pretty dense code. We need to upload, does he have anything? Okay, uploading and executing the attack file. So what we need to do is we need to actually upload this PHP file to some web server of some sort that is not on this machine but somewhere. I'm going to post this on my home network. So I'm going to do scp hackme.php hi-hole, which is at 192.168.1.10. There it is, hackme.php. Clear. Alright, good. So I need to I uploaded that web page, the PHP file, on some machine, some web server on my home network. Now what we need to do is actually on my Mac, the attacker, open up Metasploit again by MSF console. Okay, and we're going to actually create something called a Metasploit listener. MSF console. Oh, no. Use multi-handler. So what multi-handler will do is actually can create, well, we can actually handle multiple connections. Set payload. Okay. So options. Here we go. We need to actually fill in the L host and L port. So we need to set L host 192.168.1.219, which is the IP address of this machine, my Mac, the attacker. Set L port to 443. Okay, show options again. Here we go. This is the listener address and the listening port. So if someone actually clicks on that web page, it will come back to this machine. So I'm just gonna hit exploit. That's what happens. There you go. It's running. The listener is running. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice. What's going on? I don't see any. Oh, wow. Here's the final piece of the puzzle. We're waiting for anyone that clicks on it actually goes to that web page. Now, watch what happens when someone actually tries to go and visit that web page. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't think I need the VM anymore. Actually, I'll leave that on. There's a reason for that. What about this web browser? I'm going to clear the page. I'm going to go to a tab. HTTP 192.168.1.10. Go to a page called hackme.php. Remember that I just uploaded? Watch what happens. So I'm actually going to go enter, boom. Now what happens is interpreter session. Here we are. One session open. I now own 192.168.1.10. Pretend that someone went to the web page or the website 192.168.1.10/hackme.php. Hackme.php is a lace code. Anyone that goes to it opens up a connection between me and the target. So now I completely own the 192.168.1.10 machine. Ooh, what's this interpreter thing? I'm going to do a lot of things with interpreter. Let's do a help. I can do all kind of system command. Execute, pskill, shell, sysinfo, you name it. ls, make file, the traditional cat, cd, cp, del, edit, ls, make dir, papw, remove files, you name it. Oh yeah. I can even play a WAV file on the machine. So if I can do an ls, so now the box, you see this. This thing has something called videos, admin. This website has videos, admin, hackme.php. If I do a more hackme.php, okay, or cat hackme.php, look at that. Okay, do an ls again. Good. Okay. Ooh, I can't go back for some reason, but I can do sysinfo. And I can see that this is a Pi hole. This is a Linux box. Okay. Can I do a touch? Hack.txt. Yeah. So I am a bit confused. What are you typing right now? What machine files are you viewing? I am viewing the files that are on the machine on 192.168.1.10. So right now on my Mac, like I'm the attacker, I'm running Meterpreter and Metasploit, and I just gained access to this 192.168.1.10 machine. Okay, so this is not my Mac that I'm breaking into. So if I cd ls html, there you go. Help. We can even do a shell. You can even see all the processes running on this target. Pretty cool. So Metasploit, not only can you do vulnerability scanning with Metasploit, but you can even do the exploitation. Yep. Open a connection between my Mac, which is at 219, and the 1.110 machine. Yes. How can this connection give you access to file system? Know why? Hold on. All right. How can this connection give you access to his file system? All right. Let me quit out of that and I can answer. Okay, died. Let me explain that one. That one I can explain. Remember we created this lace code by way of MSF Venom? How can this connection give you access to his file system? Take a look at this payload for that is created by way of MSF Venom. What this is saying is, okay, create me a PHP web page that if anyone clicks or if anyone goes to it, okay, it will make a connection back home to the attacker at 192.168.1.219 at port 443. That's it. That's what it is create me a web page that if anyone goes to it, it connects back to 192.168.1.219 at port 443. Does that answer your question, that guy? That's what this MSF Venom payload will do. We'll create a PHP page that will say anyone that touches it, anyone that actually connects to it, goes to will actually phone back home to 192.168.1.219 at port 443. Would the web browser therefore need permission to modify your files on your system? No, it doesn't. The web browser does not need any permission at all. All bypassed. Nothing. Remember, the attacker is at 192.168.1.219. Then, once this is created, I just uploaded this thing called hackme.php. I can upload this to any system on my network as I want. In this case, I just uploaded to 192.168.1.10 because it has a web server built in. On the target system. Aha. So would the web browser therefore need permission to modify files on the target system? And the answer is no. Nope. Are we assuming that your 1.10 file system root does not have a password? It does have a password. Think of it as a backdoor. There you go. Think of it as a backdoor. What kind of a connection is being made? As you can infer from the name, it's just a TCP listener. It's just a straight TCP connection. So if you do a more, I can't dig too deep into this code. This entire payload does all the magic that actually connects back home. Now, in order for this to work correctly, what is in the link deleted is a black box. Yeah. So what is in the link deleted? What do you mean by black box? So is default user. Oh, again, in order to make this really work, there has to be two pieces. There has to be a target, which has the hackme.php page, In this case, it's at 192.168.1.10. The other thing, the other important piece is the attacking computer must be listening to connections. So that's why we have to set up something called a listener to run. Well, he said uploading, executing the SDK. So in what Sam does is actually he gives you two VMs, one to Kali and one a Windows 2008 server target. There you go. Now we own the server. Same idea. What we're going to do. I mean, like we can't understand it, but it just works like magic. Yes. Yes. We are assuming the hack me file does contain every. Yes, that's it. That's it. You have to assume the hack me file does everything it needs to connect that needs to do as the attacker, and our job is to publish it somewhere. The answer is yes. Spot on, correct. So the PHP file, the hackme.php file, actually has everything that you need. Yes, it does feel like magic. Okay, all the work is already done for you. You just need to publish somewhere. And then somewhere, someone has to actually click on that hackme.php file. Have to go to that. Have to actually go to that URL containing the hackme.php file. Yep. So default user, you're spot on correct. That's it. It really does work like magic. But the reason why I'm showing you this, okay, is to show you how you actually can use Metasploit as an exploitation platform to actually break into the machine. Because, yeah, so far we have only talked about scanning for stuff, but Metasploit does a lot more than just scanning. It can even do exploiting as well. Now that's the reason why I showed you this example, because hey, everyone likes to take a look. Everyone likes demonstration on how you actually break into a system. Here you go. And yeah, and Sam actually does have really good tutorial exercises. That's the other thing, of course. Give a shout out to Sam on this. So this is actually a good example that I want to show you, like how to use Metasploit. Metasploit is not only for just scanning for vulnerabilities, but also for exploiting and breaking into systems, and also creating payloads. Perhaps I'm for that guy. Perhaps I'm tiny confused. If I were to visit the page, okay, hold on. If I were to visit the page hackme.php, the attacker would be able to establish a computer with my computer, then browse my file, and the answer is no. It is wherever the file hackme.php is stored. Well, it could. Well, here's the deal. It could. You could do that. You could actually do that guy. So in this case, if you were to visit hackme.php, would the attacker would be able to establish a computer with my computer? The answer is yes. Well, no. In this case, all right. In this case, the hackme.php file is stored on some server out there. Now, however, if your computer, okay, if your computer was running a web server on my network, again, the very important thing is your computer has to be on my network and it has to run a web server software like Apache, Nginx, Microsoft, whatever it is. And then you actually upload that hackme.php file onto your own computer where it's running a web server. Then you do something like go to the webpage hackme.php by way of like something like hold on. Assuming that your computer is running like a web server and you upload the hackme.php file, then you have to go to something like localhost or 127.0.0.1, localhost, and then hackme.php. This is not going to work. But if your computer was running a web server and it was on my network, and you uploaded this file, hackme.php, onto your computer, and then you go to open up a web browser and you say, go to localhost hackme.php, then the hacker would be able to establish a computer connection with your computer. Yep. Correct. Yep. The hacker needs to be the hackme page needs to be executed by the target or on the target. I'll give you another good example. You can use MSF Venom to actually create a payload for, let's say, a malicious Android app. Yes, you can use MSF Venom to create a Android app. And let's assume that you have an Android device, and I create a payload on MSF Venom to create this app, and I just tell you, okay, go download this onto your app. And then you run the app, then the attacker actually has a connection to your entire Android phone. Does it matter who opened the device? Good question. Not really. It's the file. No, not really. Whoever opens up the file that what in this case doesn't matter who opens up 192.168.1.10/hackme. Someone opens it. 192.168.1.10 gets compromised. Yeah, that guy. Yes. The hackme page needs to be executed by the target on the target. Yep. Doesn't matter who really owns the file. So far, so good? Alright. So we've done vulnerability scanning. We talked about vulnerability scanners. Yep. Metasploit is a very deep tool. Hold on. I'm going to quit this. Metasploit is actually one of those tools that cybersecurity professionals say, you got everything. Yeah. If you know someone's IP, can you execute? You can execute. No. You have that's someone else's IP. Have to be a web server, and there's some way that you need to send them hackme.php max. So the answer is, if you know someone's IP, and they're running a web server, and you send them hackme.php, then yeah. It's a really good tool. It's a really good example to actually learn Metasploit. And there's actually a Metasploit cheat sheet that's actually put together by the SANS Institute. Metasploit framework is a platform developing. You can usually use Metasploit for developing your own security tool too. Really cool. The MSF Venom tool is a component of Metasploit that allows to generate standalone version of any payload within. Okay. Yeah. MSF Venom can also encode payload to help it avoid detection. Go. Port scanner, you can use Metasploit for a port scanner, FTP server. You can even use this I didn't know that. You can use Metasploit for an FTP server. Cool. All right. So we've done vulnerability scanning tools, Badness-O-Meter. We also done Badness-O-Meter. We've done. Don't confuse vulnerability scanning with pen test. Don't confuse that. We've done a little bit of exploitation and Metasploit as well. Yeah. So next week we're gonna finally do web security. Yeah, we're gonna do web security next week. One of my favorite topics. Until then, yeah. That was a tab. Fun. Yeah. What is this here? Okay. Oh. Yep, exploit console. All right. Take care, folks. Yeah.